Hola, chicas. Welcome to Encuentras Your Voice podcast, showcasing Latinas as they share their journey from ancestry to authenticity, discovering that aha moment of self-love in the cultura and the thriving success that follows. I'm your host, Consuelo Crosby, here with you every Wednesday at 5 p.m. sunny California Pacific time, and reveling with our vibrant guests every week. Full-length conversations that will have you cheering for our comunidad. That single aha moment that changed their life forever, illuminating the importance and impact of the Hispanic and Latina community in our society. So happy that you are here with us today, leaning into the power of gratitude and grace as we head into Thanksgiving next week. And as a reminder, this is our last episode of November already, as we take the week off to relax into a state of gratitude, with today's episode being an amazing catalyst to get you in the mood, remind you of your power, and to sit still in silence to give room for your intuition to be heard. We are back to back with Afro-Latinas sharing their insights of our humanity and accepting it with love and respect, reminding us to cherish who we are individually and live them out loud and proud, because without them, someone else in this world is missing exactly who they need to feel seen, heard, and embraced. Today, Yenory Pouncil, a fourth-generation Garifuna, spiritual guide and self-trust catalyst for iconic leaders, joins me in this deep and powerful conversation of spirituality. Yenory, a native Honduran, graciously shares her own journey back to the woman she loves to be, proudly accepting her journey and living herself authentically. She is a leading expert in spiritual mastery and intuitive insight, and co-founded the Self-Trust Company, reaching over 40,000 people monthly. Known as the coach's coach, she masterfully guides clients to break through emotional barriers, unlocking expansive personal and business success. And this is success that we talk differently about on this episode, because as soon as we say success, cha-ching, you're thinking money. You always have the abundance within. So don't be distracted by the almighty dollar. This pole dancing, tea drinking, Dragon Ball Z enthusiast is passionate about authentic self-mastery. Self-mastery, our personal journey here on earth to become our most authentic self in self-love and happiness. I love that term. Yenory reminds us to take our power back from whatever or whoever has distracted us away from ourselves. This is the perfect episode to listen to intently. And as Yenory says, come back and listen again as you continue to grow, evolve, and thrive in this world. There are so many quotes in this episode that you just have to write in bold lipstick on your morning mirror to guide you through your life every day. So get comfy in a quiet place without distraction. Embrace yourself in love and lean into Yenory Pouncil, Honduran Garifuna spiritual guide, as she leads you to your best self. Welcome to Encuentras Your Voice podcast, Yenory. It's so energizing to have you here, especially it's November 1. And we're just coming in with that spirituality and that energy. And I am blessed that you are here today. So welcome.
Thank you, Consuelo. I'm thrilled to be here. Not only is it November 1st, it's also a new moon, people. So it is beautiful, refreshing energy bringing us into this conversation. And I just feel so full already. So I'm ready for all the fun and juices we're about to have together. Because last time you and I had our quick chat, it was just so powerful that I'm like, I know today is going to be next level. Okay. So I'm excited.
Yes. Yeah. Literally pulled over for our conversation. I was like, wait, what? I wish we were recording then. I was like, wow. Yeah. So we just clicked instantaneously. Like as soon as we saw each other, I was like, okay, And I love getting that vibe. Oh, I love feeling, even across this technical screen, I love picking up on people's energy. And girlfriend, wow. So, as we always do, we have a living archive of our diaspora, of our Latinidad across the world. And we'd love if you would feel comfortable sharing your own family's diaspora and where you're located now.
Yes, so right now I'm currently in Honduras. I am originally from Honduras. I moved to the States when I was about 8. So I spent close to 27 years in the United States. And recently, like, this is November, we're recording this, but in July, I moved with my family to Honduras, my husband and my toddler. So it's been a beautiful returning home that we have experienced. And to me, wherever my body is, that is where home is. At the same time, it's been really beautiful to move back to the physical land where I moved from. So we have this multiple generations under one roof, one household. And I find that there is so much power in that, so much power in being able to convene with that collective wisdom that can only happen in those nuanced moments. Originally, I'm from Honduras, like I shared. I'm part of a ethnic group here called the Garifunas. And the Garifunas are really spiritual people. We are very powerful people. And I'm blessed because I'm a 4th generation Garifuna high priestess. So I have this channeled of insight and wisdom that has been really moved through so many generations, 4 generations at least with me. I just feel so honored to be a conduit for it all and to be a self-expression of it all, because I just find that many of us silence our voice. So being able to speak on my voice and share it, it just feels really, really good.
It's the whole point of the podcast. It's even the name of the podcast, where once you find your voice, and we really have to find your voice, because like you said, people go out of their way, even societies go out of the way to silence our voices and change our entire narrative, change our story, erase it even. I love this spirituality aspect. That's what we clicked with instantly. What was that like when you were living in the US? Did you feel there was a place for it?
It's interesting, Consuelo, because I didn't feel it. And honestly, this energy that I'm emanating now, that you feel so connected to, it has always been with me. At the same time, it hasn't been this radiant. I hadn't allowed it to be this radiant because I grew up in a household where my mother is also a spiritual high priestess. In Garifuna, they're called Buye. She's also a Buye. She has the gift of mediumship. And when you grow up in a household where you have that support, it can be perceived that it's easier to navigate the spiritual realm and to experience yourself in the human form as a spiritual being because you have that support at home. And I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't. It wasn't, because the energy in the United States was so dense and so in direct contrast with everything that I find to go with spirituality. If we look at the word spiritual at its core, the Latin root of it is this word called espirare, I believe. And when you look at the root of that word, it means breathe. So, and here I was believing that spirituality had to do with religion and all these other things that I wasn't connecting with. So for a while, I was very much not wanting to be this type of person that was so open about her spirituality. I always consider myself spiritual and not religious because of how I saw religion be constructed to really drown people's authenticity. And I believe in the power of authenticity. So oftentimes religion and I were not hanging out at the same party. I went to Baptist churches. I served on ministries because I'm not someone that just speaks on things without actually going and testing them out. Like, I served at a church for many years and I loved that church. I loved the people that I connected there. At the same time, I knew in my heart that there was something that was not aligned. And I was running away from that because I didn't want to be the weird person. I don't want to be the person that could speak spirit. I don't want to be the person that could be labeled in some shape or form. I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to be treated differently. I didn't want to be abandoned by people that I knew to be extremely religious, that perhaps wouldn't be in alignment with what I was choosing to do, how I was choosing to live my life. And this fear of being treated differently, this fear of being rejected, this fear of being alienated from the people that I loved, this fear of not being loved for being truly who I was.
That's the biggest point. Right there.
It kept me from being open about my gifts. It kept me from being transparent about the things that I knew and the parts of myself that really are my authentic self. Like, it kept me from letting that shine because of that. So for a while, I wasn't this type of person that will openly speak about her spiritual gifts. I surrounded myself around people that were of the Christian faith, the Christian religious beliefs. And I started to, at some point, believe that I too was Christian. And I started to look at the way I was, my upbringing. I was having a difficult time reconciling with my ancestral practices and the religious practices that I was hearing and learning about. And there was a moment, and this moment was recent, y'all. This is like, y'all are meeting me in a recent awakening of I am,
cool,
where I was like, oh my God, I'm not a Christian. Why am I letting this Christian beliefs direct how I feel about myself?
Was there like a specific aha moment, we like to call them, that just made you go, hold up, sister?
Yes, there was. In 2022, at the end of the year, it was November. I think it was the weekend of November 11th. I was
11/11.
11/11. I was part of this event. I was working with a business mentor at the time, and she was doing this event. And at this event, she does this tradition where you make a declaration, like a bold declaration about something that you've been desiring to say, but you haven't really said it. I shared that my bold thing I wanted to experience was to have my first $1 million year in my business as a Garifuna high priestess. And that was bold for me because, again, I just told you I was very closeted about these things. I wouldn't really even post on social media when I was doing these things. I was just very I held it really close.
Yeah.
After I made that declaration, Consuelo, I made that declaration and literally everything started like what you could perceive falling apart. And I was just like, what is happening?
Wow.
Like, I don't create this type of environments. What is going on? Yeah. And it was so visceral. It was so violent that I just realized, oh my God, like I'm in the middle of the unbreaking that takes place.
Yes.
When you are in the declaration.
Because all of that was false pretense. It was a survival. It was a way to be accepted. It was a way to avoid conflict. It was a way to feel loved, even though you were being loved for something that wasn't authentic.
Yes.
That had to fall apart.
So I paused and I asked myself, do I want to destroy my business? And when I paused and I asked that question, I heard my inner voice saying, yes, this is not the way we do business. This is not the way that we show up. This is not honoring who we are. This is a persona you've created because you think this is what people want. So yes, we are wanting to destroy this business because this is not the way that we do business. And I was so blown away because I was so busy pretending. I was so good at it. I was so good at sending my representative to every single room.
Oh, and that is a powerful statement across humanity. That is true for everybody. But how did you reach that acceptance of vulnerability that you have to be in, to be open to feeling that, to be open to knowing it's okay to shed all this and you're there naked in your authentic self? Was there something you felt maybe, even if it was your soul screaming like, I can't do this anymore, we need to live authentically? Where did that empowerment come to let your guard down and to be able to feel vulnerable and rise as your authentic self?
That is such a great question, Consuelo. My favorite uncle gets murdered. Here in God. And this was someone that, if you think of the person in your family, that when every single person is judging you and turning their back on you, they're picking up the phone to see how you're doing. That was that person for me. Whenever I spoke to him, I'd be like, I want you to do what you want. Whatever brings you joy. Don't do what society wants you to do. Do whatever you want to do. I had no idea what that was. No one brought me joy because I was busy checking the boxes.
Wow.
Get a degree, check. Get a second degree, check. Get a master's, check. Get a job, a directoral, check. Marry somebody's son, check. Live in a beautiful apartment, check. Live in this, I was just checking and checking and checking.
Yeah.
And I didn't come with getting to the top of that mountain of success and not enjoying the view.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt bad about it. Because people around me were saying, well, you live such a great life and you're successful. And deep down, I was so miserable.
Yeah.
And I felt guilty for feeling miserable because I was living a great life. And it was a great life. It simply wasn't a life that I was enjoying. So that was the foundation that allowed me to be in a position where you fast forward 8 years later, I'm able to see these things of myself and I'm able to look and reflect and acknowledge that let's point the mirror at the only person we can't control. Let's look at what's happening and let's be honest about it and let's be transparent about it and let's feel comfortable with ourselves about it. And let's be willing to do that with kindness and with compassion. And it's okay. It is okay.
Yeah.
That was the foundation that set that base for me to be able to do that.
That is such a beautiful story of self-reflection and of fighting for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're up along familial expectations. You're up against the cultura when it comes to being a woman. You're up against being in the U.S. and the ideal, like you said, the ideal of success, which is contrived and made up for money. And I think right now, there are so many of our listeners that are nodding along with us because that check the box, especially from familial expectations, is so real. And it really isn't your life. It isn't your life because you're living according to those expectations and not wanting to let people down and, feeling guilty. You can't live this way because you're not happy. And that's when we come into this reawakening.
Yeah.
I think embracing self-love, loving who you are, taking the time to figure out, like you said, who you are, what you want. It's so necessary.
And being okay with it being different than what you thought it was going to be, right? Because when I was looking at myself, people would see me and they're like, oh my God, you're so confident and you're this and you're that. And I am those things. That does not absolve me from experiencing the things I experienced. Because oftentimes we associate confidence with perfectionism, confidence with everything is always going the way you want it to go, with complacency at times. And confidence is uncomfortable because I'm going to be confident no matter what's going on. I'm going to be joyful no matter what's happened. I'm going to trust that everything is unfolding in my favor and that of humanity, no matter what the outcome says. That is different than what I learned confidence to be, which is to project this image of unbotherness and nothing is wrong. And, there's no vulnerability. There's no softness. There's only the masculine, stern, impenetrable energy that's present. And confidence is gentle. Confidence is soft. Confidence is beautiful. Confidence acknowledges that there's vulnerability and that sometimes things are going to feel hard. And that in those moments, it's okay that you feel challenged. And in that challenge, you can ground yourself in the roots of yourself and from here bloom, knowing that you are who you are to be, no matter what's happening around you. That is also confidence. And in my experience, that's the type of confidence that I resonate with. That is also a big part of this process because we grew up here and my family say all the time, ¿Qué va a decir la sociedad? What does society say about you?
Oh, this is such a... We've had this on almost every episode. It's like, ¿Qué va a decir la gente? ¿Qué va a decir la gente? It's like, who cares?
¿Qué va a decir la gente, verdad? Entonces, you grow up hearing that messaging and you don't realize how much is steeped in your subconscious, because a lot of times you are asking, ¿qué va a decir la sociedad? Si yo hago, so if I say that I'm, a spiritual guide, if I say that I have the gift of mediumship, the gift of channeling, ¿qué va a decir la sociedad? Van a decir brujería, que esto es lo otro, que esto, que allá. And then suddenly you're causing yourself a whole panic attack because of your mere existence. How is your existence leading you to have a panic attack?
An existence that you were born into.
Yes.
You had nothing to do with what you created. This is just who you were born into.
It's a gift.
It's a blessing. Yeah. I love what you say about confidence, because I think that is a lot of what our behavior gets tweaked by, is not understanding the confidence is confidence of loving yourself. You love yourself, then you're confident that you're going to go out as yourself and face whatever it is. And the outcome is whatever it is. But you have brought your authentic self into the situation and you dealt with it what you could at that moment. And I so agree. I think it's almost a telltale sign, because my brothers are like this. This false portrayal of confidence is, like you said, complacency, arrogance. Oh, I can't be bothered. Oh, that, when you see that around people, you shouldn't be afraid of it, because that is you're afraid of my power. I can feel it, because you're giving off this aura of, it doesn't bother me. When in fact, if you were open and vulnerable with someone, you would engage with that, engage with someone else's power, like engage with their spirituality, not as a threat, but as something that you too can be nurtured by, fueled by, learn by, and tap into something in yourself, right? That you needed a catalyst for to come forward. That's the confidence to be the weakest link.
I was sitting in this energy of victimhood and like the damsel in distress and all this societal conditioning that we are given and we are fed, and how important it was to challenge that and to say, yes, I am a Black woman. Yes, I am a Garifuna. Yes, I do speak Spanish, and I am an Afro-Latina, and I am living in a country that has all these systematic things going on. And that doesn't have to dictate my joy. That doesn't have to dictate how I show up in the world. That doesn't have to dictate how I feel about myself, no matter what it looks like. That's something that it had to be learned, because I was very much in that energy of victimhood, that very much an energy of requiring somebody to save me.
Women prior to our generation were completely cut off from their power, from their voice, from being who they genuinely are. Me breaking the cycle was horrible. It was horrible because there was zero support, even from your own peers.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, I think, when there's supposed to be this sisterhood. And I think we're seeing it a lot right now, right? A lot right now, the disruption of the sisterhood, not supporting each other and allowing for this beautiful authenticity to rise, allowing for us to be different, allowing for us to have the power to come out as our genuine selves and have someone have your back.
Yeah. I can just feel the tenderness that you're speaking on it. It's like, it's literally bringing me to tears. Because it's so true, Consuelo. And I'm so glad you brought this up, because one of the things that I feel like it often breaks my heart, and I challenge with accepting people where they are, because there's so much talk about generational curses and generational trauma. And oftentimes, in my experience, so little grace for that process for those generations and what that was like for them, and really grace for all the gifts too that they provided. Like, it is very easy in retrospect to say, like, why didn't y'all teach me this? And why didn't you teach me that? And why am I dealing with this? And in reality, it can be, the challenge is to look and be like, here's what you did have, though, because you gave what you had. If you had more. And I don't believe that you were gatekeeping that from me. I am aware that you were giving me what you had, right? I'm grateful that I have the awareness and that I have the words. And that doesn't take away from my experience, but I'm also grateful to be able to hold space for that person's experience too. I've been having a lot of conversations with my mom since I've been here, and even her
Oh,
sister. And when they let me and they feel comfortable, I record some of them to document their wisdom.
yeah.
And they just grew up differently. Being open to just speaking to those previous generations
Yeah.
and really exploring what their childhoods were like and how they got to some of these things it's a big part of the healing process. It's not in a silo, because then we just believe that they didn't give it to us and they didn't want to share with us. We just forget that our parents are human too. Our grandparents
Yeah.
are human too. We forget they're
Mhm.
human because so much judgment is presented for our humanity that we extend that judgment onto them.
Mm.
And that's why I just find so much power in also speaking about the generational gifts, right? The gift of
Right.
patience, the gift of forgiveness, the gift of laughter, which
Yeah.
I feel like Latin American cultures have. Like we
Oh,
know how to
huge.
party. We know how to have a freaking good time, okay? Right?
It doesn't matter if you're working, if you're dying, if you're at the best party of your life, the outward behavior is all the same.
It's the same.
It's the same. I love that about our cultura. It's like the joy isn't taught. The joy isn't expected. It's not a personality you put on. You can't help yourself. You can be in the most ridiculous moment and you will be laughing because it's just this humor you see in humanity. Not to take yourself so seriously and not to think of yourself as so big either.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just grounds you. It just
Yes.
grounds you so much. You can feel your emotions and you can express them. And people are going to be okay with it. And that, I feel like, is such a powerful lesson to absorb. It's such a powerful gift. We just don't like the packaging sometimes. So we like dismiss it. But there is so many gifts in that too. So I'm glad you talk about just what we have and the tools we have.
Mm-hmm.
How we can leverage those tools, and also holding that space for the tools that they may not have had and the way they were not getting things, because that held the space for us to be able to even have this conversation, right?
Right. Because it's all based on that ancient knowledge too.
Yeah.
And that was a knowledge that remained uninterrupted up to our parents. It was uninterrupted. It was handed down, the good and the bad, but it was handed down untouched.
Yes.
And it was only, granted, the colonialism wave ran through and that affected things, but it was only now that we're losing it, that we've turned to this falseness that comes across technology. And we start believing that.
Yeah.
And we start really, I see such a hunger for money before people. That just wasn't that way not that long ago. I know it's happening in the smaller places here in the US that have gotten very devastated, really horrifically devastated by the natural disasters. And I know they are leaning into community to support each other, to help each other. But you're also seeing it right now in Spain, where Valencia I don't even know what went down. That was crazy. And right now, like 2 days after the craziness, everyone just pouring out of their homes, walking down these streets with shovels and brooms and whatever, because they're going to go help clean up whoever needs help. And I think that is humanity across the board that can get lost too readily when money becomes more important than people.
So 2 things I wanted to share that you were speaking. First was when you were talking about the community. I feel like that's, spiritually speaking, that's where we're starting to see the signs of land, I call them. When people are at sea and they want to know if land is near, they start to look for signs of land. Sometimes there's twigs in the ocean and they'll notice, oh, there's a land near, or they may see like a bird and they're like, oh, there's a land near.
Mm-hmm.
And this behaviors of community that we're seeing, I believe, are the signs of land, of the shift from the divine masculine energy to the divine feminine energy that we're really experiencing as we are shifting from the era of Pisces to the era of Aquarius. To bring a little bit of the spiritual baggy in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Shift that's happening where we're stepping out of that divine masculine energy into the divine feminine energy. And a big part of that is the collapsing of these systems, is collapsing of this old ways. And we're seeing that all around us, how things are collapsing, and there's this kind of tug of war for the power source, right? People look at Honduras as a third world country. Coming here, though, after living in the States for so many years and even traveling to many other countries, can tell you that there's a freedom here that it's not in America. And I'm not referring to the freedom of the political stuff. I'm referring to the freedom of taking a nap in the middle of the day and not caring that somebody thinks you got to have a business that's open. I'm talking about the freedom of saying, I'm going to come here at this time and you show up when you feel like it. Like, that can cause a level of discomfort for someone. And at the same time, your freedom to say, I know I said at this time, but this is the time that I'm actually coming because life is happening and this is when I have availability. And people are just like, this is how it is.
Yeah.
That's a freedom there.
Yeah.
A freedom where you don't feel like you gotta be on all the time.
Gosh.
There is a freedom there. And I feel like, yes, we have all these things and we also have the money situation going in the US, like, that's going on. This type of freedom is not there because people feel like they own your time, they own you, and they own these things about you. So it's very difficult for you to be willing to say, I'm going to turn off my phone and I'm going to go to sleep. I grew up in New York City. It's called the city that never sleeps.
Right.
Never, So I feel like now as an adult being here and experiencing being here, I can see that there is a freedom that I find when we are on vacation and we think it's the vacation. It's the style of life of the place you're visiting. Yeah. You're sensing that stillness that is happening at a collective level. And you think that the vacation is going to give you that. No, it's that you are in a place where that's the norm. It really is the freedom that we think we're going to get when we make more money. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this is the least amount of money I've ever made. And it's the most peaceful I've ever been, the most joyful I've ever been. The more I've enjoyed the view from my life because I have space to see the view, to take it all in. And it's because money is not a distraction. We are really distracted by the pursuit of it.
For the listeners, how do you think, in your experience or in your knowledge, that listeners can quiet the world around them enough to tap in and hear their own spirituality?
That's a great question. In my experience, it's not about quieting the world around you. It's quieting you in the world you're in. Because the minute you quiet yourself, the intuition is always, we have to actually go out of our way to silence our intuition. It's about you quieting yourself so that you see how much your intuitive nature is speaking to you. And not hiding behind things like achievements, like success. There's this stereotype that Latinos are very hardworking, that they go and they make something out of nothing. And we wear that as a badge of honor. Well, maybe we don't for a little bit. Maybe we're not making something out of nothing all the time. Maybe we're taking a pause and looking at ourselves and allowing ourselves to see that maybe our grandmother's dream is not our dream for ourselves. That's the time. You start to realize all the ways you've been surrendering your power and putting other people in charge of your life. And that's going to be uncomfortable. I feel like that's the challenge for folks, is that it's uncomfortable to listen. It's uncomfortable to sit in the silence and let it speak. Because you know what it's going to say. You've been avoiding it this entire time.
Yeah, you've been distracting yourself.
You've been distracting yourself.
You've been distracting yourself. And that fear, the fear of the unknown, is you not trusting yourself in the unknown. Yes. Not trusting that you have a voice carrying you through the unknown, and not trusting that it knows where you should go, and that you just have to learn to accept what it's saying and follow it. Follow it. And yeah, ¿qué va a decir la gente? ¿Qué va a decir la familia? Everyone else. And love yourself for that. Seeking other people's opinion, seeking other people's validation, seeking other people to give permission is, like you say, you're giving away your power.
The most liberating thing I ever did for myself, Consuelo, and I really encourage the listeners to play with this. Don't just take the things I'm saying with you. Please put them through the ringer. Test them out. Go and live your life in this way for 5 to 10 minutes. Then see what you've learned. One of the most liberating things I've done for myself was to decide to be okay of every decision I make, no matter how much I don't like the outcome. Because I used to be so angry at myself when I wasn't getting it perfect on the first try. I went with my husband to play Top Golf, I think it's called, the golf situation. You kind of like hitting golf balls in this place called Top Golf. And I was so frustrated. And he said to me, "You don't even know what kind of club that is. You have never held a club in your entire life. And look at you." I'm getting super frustrated because you're not hitting it the way you want to hit it. And you literally never held a club in your entire life before. And that is how we approach life. We've never grabbed a club before. We don't even know what kind of club we have. We don't even know that we're different clubs. And we are upset that we're not Tiger Woods out there. Without realizing that Tiger Woods has had a whole life of being Tiger Woods to hit like Tiger Woods does. Being okay with the outcome of your decisions is so empowering. Most of us are afraid because we don't want to face the fact that sometimes you win some, sometimes you quote unquote lose some. It's part of the dance of co-creation. Everything won't always go your way because the lessons are really embedded in those moments when they don't go their way. I've seen so many athletes talk about they've learned more about the times they have failed to win a game than the times that they have won the game. We don't want to learn. We don't want to learn about ourselves. We don't want to learn to change the things we don't like about ourselves. We feel like we shouldn't have to quote unquote deal with it. We get upset because we are human as well. We judge our humanity. We resent our humanity. We are angry about our humanity. And that's what gives life its flavor. That's what holds us all in the same playing field, is that at some point, this physical body will no longer be. And we don't know when that's going to happen. That's a thread that holds all of us in alignment. That's what we are connecting with each other.
Yes.
We know what it's like to be born, and we know what it's going to be like to be gone. And fear of accepting that, the fear of death, fear of letting those things go is the reason why we have such a difficult time. And if you want to address this in a way that's beautiful, give you the thing that has helped me.
Okay.
Watch the sunsets. Go and for a month, do your best to catch 5 to 10 sunsets and just watch it. Take it all in. And you'll start to notice that the sunsets are also beautiful. You start to see this bright light go from super bright yellow to this hues of orange and magentas and even blues.
The blues,
Pinks. And together, right when the sun is about to collapse, you start to see that there is an ending and you remember, oh, there's another beginning happening right now. Please play with this. For an entire 2 months, I watched the sunset every day. And it's when I learned that there was beauty in ending. And the endings can also be beautiful. It wasn't just the brightness of the beginning that could burn brightly and joyfully, that there was something magical about them ending as well. And that's why
I love that. I love that. I love how you frame that. It's so beautiful. And it's encouraging and to look for that, to feel it, to recognize it. Whether you're outgrowing friends or you're outgrowing your jobs, you're outgrowing what you used to like.
Yeah.
We don't have to bring it all forward. We have to have those moments of contemplation and reflect, like, why? Without feeling guilty, like you said earlier, without feeling guilty, why don't I like this anymore? It's because you're a different person now. You've done with yourself in your life where you're changing. When you're moving forward and like that whole, nature does it all the time. It sheds, right? It sheds. Let's move on and to celebrate what you're leaving behind. Definitely celebrate what you're leaving behind. I'm wondering, now that you're in this fully accepting place with yourself and allowing it to just flourish as it would, embracing your spirituality, embracing your gift, being in your homeland, how is life now for you? What is coming up in your spirituality, in your connections? How does it manifest? And how are you interacting still now, but in a much different way with the humanity around you?
Oh my God. That is an amazing question. You're such a great interviewer, Consuelo. You have so many great questions.
I'm a curious beast and I want to know.
I love this question so much. I wish more people ask this question. People talk about leave your feelings at the door. I used to be that person, by the way. And now I'm the person that is like, I move through the world through my feelings.
Yeah.
And it feels like I was swimming upstream. And now I am in this kind of lazy river and the water is taking me. And I know that wherever it's taking me is exactly where I desire to be. Feels like I'm no longer pretending, hiding the parts of me that feel dearest to me out of fear. And instead, I'm letting them shine because of trust, out of trust. I trust that those that are exposed to who I am will receive what's there for them, and that may not happen in that moment. It may happen years from now. It may happen decades from now. It may happen in another lifetime. And it feels like for the very first time, I'm not afraid to be, and I'm not afraid of what being will look like for others and how they will receive it. And it looks like releasing relationships that I have been very attached to for many years. People in my life that I see how our dynamic has shifted, and I have been fighting to hold on because people have became such a big part of my identity that I couldn't see myself without them. And it looks like me letting that go. It looks like me letting that go with joy and excitement for the both of us. Because I know how much we love being the most authentic version of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I want that for everyone. And sometimes that means I will no longer be part of that picture the way I used to be. And that's okay. It really looks like accepting my humanity and by extension, allowing myself to accept the humanity of others. So much judgment I've had for my humanity, for being a woman at times, for being Latina, for being Afro-Latina, for not feeling like I was Latina enough, or too Black to be Latina, too Latina to be Black. Feeling like people didn't understand this Black person that spoke Spanish and they just didn't comprehend how I could coexist in this world. It just felt like this pure sense of limbo, not only in my upbringing, but also in my spirituality. And now I accept who I am. And not only do I accept who I am, I embrace who I am. I love this person. I love this being. I am excited to be her.
Yeah.
And for the first time, Consuelo, I'm excited to be her. I love her. I love that she knows that her sense of worth has nothing to do with what people say or what people do, that her sense of love is all about how she feels about herself. That is enough. And it feels like sharing that with women that are open and trusting that that openness will show up for me. I don't have to seek it out. Those that are in alignment with me are naturally going to be with me. And those that are not, are not. So it just feels very liberating. And it feels like the place I always knew I would get to, or I could get to, and I had no idea how. There, right.
I love that. Oh, so many emotions move through that. Oh, so many emotions of wanting to get behind you and champion you, wanting to sit in silence and let you just wash over us, wanting to just give you the space to be you in a whisper. I felt like just in the air, you could come through and affect people, like that effect and that beauty of the spirituality. Listening to that picture you painted of yourself, of your journey, of where you were and where you came and what you want in this moment, that spirituality is a beautiful masterpiece for us to really stare at, listen to, and feel for ourselves. Like, where am I in my own masterpiece, and how am I painting my journey of what it should be, and who has power over me that's preventing me from being myself, and that I don't love myself enough to take that power back. And without it feeling as though that is a militaristic act, or that is an act of defiance. It's an act of love. It's a pure act of love. I want this episode the week before Thanksgiving to air, to sit in all that gratitude of both what you were given and what you weren't given, what you had to come to on your own conclusion, what you had to, if you wanted it, you were going to get it.
The interesting thing about that is that I don't believe in living a struggle life there, right? Like, I believe that we live in an abundant universe, right?
Yeah.
And abundance is all around us, and that my birthright is wealth.
Yeah.
I do believe that. So I believe in the power of money, and that I am coded for millions and all these other things. I believe that. What happened was that I let it become my master. And you can only serve one master. What's it going to be? Are you going to let money be your master, or are you going to let your inner voice guide you? Because your inner voice is not interested in controlling you. It really is interested in revealing to you the things that are deeply in your heart, that you yourself are desiring to experience and express. And I feel that now I'm in that place where I can tell the difference. And for a while, I wasn't, because I was using money as the exit strategy for the life that I didn't desire. And the money was going to be the thing that was going to give me the freedom to live the life that I truly did desire, right? Like, the money's going to give me the opportunity to stop working so much, or the money's going to give me the opportunity to be able to take the vacation. The money's going to give me the opportunity to stop, to hire help and get my time back. Like, all of this messaging point. That, we hear, that's where I was. And now I see that the money's always with me.
Yes.
Because it doesn't come from the way I quote unquote wanted to come from, doesn't mean it's not coming, because I'm always covered, always have a roof over my head, clothes to cover my body, beautiful clothes to cover my body, clothes for my child and my husband, my mother and my niece and my family, like food on our table, like it's always here. This idea that we gotta manifest it. We don't have to learn how to manifest, because we are always manifesting.
Yes.
It's just our nature. It's part of the human experience. And that is what I feel oftentimes, especially as women of the diaspora, whether it be in the Latin American diaspora or even like the African diaspora, we feel like the money's out there. And we don't realize that it is actually in here, because it's wherever you are. You are the value. So wherever you are and you're being the truest version of who you are, money will follow you. You don't got to follow the money. The money's going to follow you.
There it is. Yes, there it is. You are worthy. You have value. You are invaluable. You are unique. You are authentic. That is your power. Your authenticity is your superpower.
The gift is you, your presence, your light, your self-expression. That is the gift. And oftentimes we keep ourselves from sharing that gift with other people. And that's why for me, it's important to tell my story. It's important that I'm not hiding behind the shame and the guilt and like the society comments and all of that stuff, and to face it head on. That's the decision. And I'm going to be open and I'm going to cry and I'm going to laugh and I'm going to be me. I'm going to be the human version of my spiritual nature in full expression. And I'm going to let her be seen. And I'm not going to hide her. I'm not going to be ashamed of her. I'm going to be enthusiastic about her because she is magical. And that magic that people get to experience in my presence will naturally ignite a chain reaction within themselves, and their own magic is going to happen. And not suddenly we have all this magical concussion going on because we had the courage to be.
I love that. I just love this. It just feels like when you're in the ocean and you catch that wave, when you are talking like this, and I'm hoping that people are just sitting in this with this glory of just gifting yourself you.
Yes.
Giving yourself the power to be you and let it carry you, walk out in the world as you, not seeking validation because you were born into this gift, and to live it out loud. That is that live your life out loud. That is our podcast mission. Live your life out loud, because someone also, like you said, someone needs that from you. There's no coincidences. Someone needs your authentic self.
Oh my God, Consuelo. This is a really powerful conversation. I hope that if y'all are listening, you come back and re-listen to it. Listen to it every year, because you're going to hear different things.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a different person. And there's something powerful when you commit to receiving and reviewing certain text or podcast episodes and consuming certain things on a ongoing basis versus always consuming new things. Come back to this conversation, because it took a while for me to get to this place. And it's not lost on me that I am gifted and I'm anointed. And there are times when I say things and I go back and listen because I don't know what I said. You know, I'm in the moment. I am present. I'm going to me for somebody. And I'm like, oh my God, that was really perfect. It's really a blessing to be here with you, Consuelo. And the moment you and I first chatted, I knew that it was going to be magical, whatever we ended up doing.
Yes.
And it is. And I just feel like it's the beginning of, funny because the sun is literally setting right now.
I can see it shifting across your body. And I think, whoa, she's being washed in the sun rays. This is the most beautiful vision.
In real time. You're watching it happen in real time. Sun is setting and you can see the different colors literally on my skin right now.
How can people get a hold of you? How do they reach out to you?
Ooh, yes. So there are two ways that you can reach out to me right now. The first way is if you love what I'm sharing here with Consuelo and you're like, Yenory, I want to get more of Yenory in my life.
Yes.
I want to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Yenory, youtube.com/Yenory Pouncil, and I'll share it with Consuelo for the show notes. You guys can check that out. And there I talk all things spirituality. I talk things normalizing, not being in survival mode. I talk about being a spiritual high priestess and what does that mean to me. And I really share my story. So if you're passionate about my life and the things I've learned, like I share that wisdom in that space. If you would like to play with me and work with me, I'm actually currently enrolling clients for my love offering called Intuitive Icons. And this is an experience. This isn't a coaching program. I don't do coaching program. I do experience. It's a love letter to you, to the most compassionate, kind, loving, opulent, confident version of yourself. that I know you can feel her presence within you and you are desiring to let her be in her full self-expression, then that's the place you want to play with me. It's called Intuitive Icons. There are 2 ways to experience it. You can experience it with me live, where I talk to you live. We do a live option of it that starts at the top of the year. And then you can do a self-paced version where you get access to what I call the self-trust system. This is a system to support you in trusting your inner voice so that you can show up as the version of you that you desire to be. Yes. And you can apply this system because systems can be applied to different areas of our lives. So if you want to learn more about that, head to selftrustmastery.com so that you can apply for a spot in the live option, or you can sign up to join us in our self-paced option.
Beautiful. Yes, I love that. Self-trust mastery. Yes. That is your journey as a human. Self-trust in all situations. I love that. I was so excited for today. November 1st, Dia de los Muertos. We are emanating those around us, those who have left us, those that are inside us that we still have to tap into. And you're right. This is only the beginning, because I see so much in our future together. I'm so excited for what's coming and knowing you. And thank you so much for reaching out in a very random call to action across those waves and connecting, because otherwise I have no idea how we would have met. But I feel so blessed in knowing you. And this is a powerful conversation that I know will touch a lot of people with your graciousness and kindness and beauty. We really, really appreciate you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Consuelo. I appreciate you. I know how intimate and special the relationship that we have with our community is. And to let me into your space, it's almost like you open the doors of your home to me, and entre con cafecito, bueno té. And I'm grateful that
anytime.
I'm really grateful that you have me and that you are holding space for me and
absolutely
self-expression, and not just for me, but for all the women and men that are listening to this conversation and whatever their self-expression journey looks like and self-ownership. So thank you for that, and forever grateful. So thank you.
Oh my Lord, I love Yenory. Is she not the best whisperer of self-love and empowerment? Teaching all of us to accept our humanity in grace and forgiveness, to revel in living with abundance from within, and be reminded that all things end, to leave way for new beginnings. In those beautiful sunsets we are all privileged to experience in every part of this world. May all her beauty and spirituality stay with you. And as we in America take time for Thanksgiving in every version next week, remember to cherish who you are and the brilliant light you bring to this world. Join us December 4th on our next episode with award-winning author Adriana Rivera, of Puerto Rican descent, as she shares her brilliant journey to become a Smithsonian Institute collaborator of her latest book, Paloma Song for Puerto Rico. This historical fiction for young readers was fact-checked by the Smithsonian, who gave Adriana only 6 weeks to research, create, and fully edit this beautiful story told through the eyes of Paloma, a 12-year-old living on a Puerto Rican finca in 1898 as the Spanish retreated from her treasured country. She even wrote the song, Paloma's Song, at the end of the book. Adriana weaves her own childhood experiences into the book with vivid memories of visiting her abuelo on his countryside finca, playful moments, and treasured visions of its beauty. She speaks with compassion for the historical impacts on Puerto Rico and with conviction to ensure a thriving future. Listen to how dreams and premonitions enter her writing style, the importance of addressing complex narratives even in children's literature, and correcting the current-day understanding of Puerto Rico, past, present, and future. catch up on some history on our time off to be prepared for this soul-fueling episode with Adriana Rivera on December 4th. This is a book that should be in every school, every library, and every home. So take the time now to purchase it as gifts, especially to schools, and request it at your local library if they don't have it on the shelves already. We would love to see your Instagram reels and stories tagging us at Encuentras Your Voice and Adriana at The Real Adriana Erin, that's ERIN, and hashtag Paloma Sung. Plus, there may be a special prize coming your way. Love to all of you. Celebrate life large with the abundance you have within you. And as always, step into your truth. Ciao. We love that you have subscribed to this podcast and continue to champion women who understand the life of all things Latina. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Encuentras Your Voice podcast so you don't miss a single episode. They will automatically drop into your listening device each week. And we'd really, really appreciate if you take a moment to add to the reviews that we already have. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you're hoping to hear, and we will get there. Share this with your friends and family to help us grow our comunidad, and keep following us on our social media to Encuentras Your Voice. We are so grateful to you for helping us grow this community and would love to learn of all the amazing Latinas who you know are creating the world we thrive in. So reach out to me on social media at Encuentras Your Voice, and let's keep leaning into our authenticity in pride. Help us make Encuentras Your Voice the place where you are 100% represented.